Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 12th meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. May we have the roll call, please?
Present today is Selectman Whiteside, Selectman Tropiano, Selectman Slavin, Selectman Tylerbaum, Town Administrator Derek Sullivan, Attorney Richard Bowen, Town Council.
Next item, please.
Announcements, Mrs. Whiteside.
Well, I'm sure we're all going to say the same thing, but yesterday's parade was beyond magnificent, absolutely fabulous. Particularly the weather, whoever arranged that. But it was a lot of fun.
I took care of that.
Was that okay? Great. And I've heard a lot of very positive comments from people of all ages. And the second thing is the superintendent is creating something called an advisory committee. I think you got a copy of that. And one of the members is going to be a selectman. And it says to write a letter of application. So I guess I would like to apply, but I wouldn't want to do it unless you guys don't want to do it.
I think the blank stares are giving you the answer you need.
Thank you.
Go ahead and apply.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Have fun.
Thank you.
Go for it.
I'm all set, thank you.
Your turn.
My turn. I just want to point out that one thing, and that's today is 11/12/13. Did anybody know that?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of neat? 11/12/13. I gotta love that.
Did you play it?
No, but I imagine there's a million people that have, and you're probably not going to make any money on that. But that's all I really have for today.
I'd like to thank Mary and Jim Bruce and Bob Brady on basically the day before the actual parade. They were out on Main Street from approximately the fire station all the way down to the end by the curve by Toby Homestead, cleaning up the road on both sides. I felt embarrassed as I went by, so I stopped to give them a hand, but they were there for about 2.5 hours, and we really should thank them for what they did. We also should have a special thanks to Bob White and Sharon. They went out of their way to make sure that event went off extremely well yesterday.
Yeah, it was great.
Good Shepherd Church of Wareham on High Street has a free Thanksgiving dinner with all the fixings. Thursday, November 28th at 1 p.m. Special prayer service at 12 p.m. to 12:15. If you need a ride, call Lee McDonald at Turning Point. Weekdays between 9 a.m. and noon, 508-291-0535. That's all I have today.
Wow.
Just a couple of things. Earlier today, there was a groundbreaking ceremony out at Rosebrook for the new Marriott that's going in there. Once again, I'd like to thank the voters of the spring 2013 town meeting for approving the tax increment finance agreement that allowed this project to go forward. This is going to bring a lot of good things to town, not the least of which is tax revenue in the form of meals tax and eventually the property tax, as the percentage that the town gives them declines over the years. Secondly, it seems that coyotes have taken center stage in our local news. I had the occasion today to speak to Acting Chief Walsh on this topic. I know there was some information published suggesting that people call the police if they had coyote issues. As a long-term solution, that's really not a viable one. Coyotes are among us. They've been among us for a while. They're going to be among us for a while. Seeing a coyote, whether at night or even in the daytime, trotting along, doing its thing is not an unusual occurrence. And it's not something you need to call the police about. They're out there. If you know where to find them, they're really out there. And, they are among us. If you're concerned about your pet safety or about your own safety, the riskiest times for human and pet interactions with coyotes occur around dawn and dusk. So if you're going to let your small dog, especially out in the morning, in an unsecured area, You probably want to go out with the dog. You probably want to put a light on if you're going to let the dog out at night. You want to make some noise. You want to do the things that would cause a coyote to go look somewhere else for an easier meal than your dog. So
Or
essentially, or cat, they do particularly like cats. But again, we seem to be making the news on this. I just don't want the police to get inundated with calls about coyote sightings, because a sighting in and of itself is essentially meaningless. If you have an attack to report, then certainly. If there's a coyote that's acted aggressively and forced you to act in a way to protect yourself or your children or your animals, then certainly call the police and alert them to that. But otherwise, they're your neighbors. Just try to get along with them. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Actually, there are ways to prevent them coming to your house. Would you like to hear some of them? Do not leave your pet's food outside overnight. Don't feed the birds, because they are attracted to the bird feed that spills out of the feeders. Small dogs should be let out only into enclosed spaces, not just, I'll turn the light on, sweetie, you go out and do your thing and come back, because they won't. So those are all things that have been suggested by the MSPCA. And they're not pests, they are part of the natural thing, so gotta be careful.
To that point, I understand from Acting Chief Walsh that he has asked, I don't know whether it's the Environmental Police or the Mass DEP or Mass Wildlife, but he's asked for some state officials to come down and do a brief, I guess, seminar, if you will, on the coyote and how to protect yourself and, what they do.
I believe the Environmental Police, and he will be trying to put together an informational class free of charge that people can attend. And the other item, it was similar to what Selectman Whiteside had stated. Some of the pointers were, don't let coyotes intimidate you. Coyotes don't like loud noises or bright lights. Secure garbage in tough plastic containers. Don't feed or try to pet coyotes. I know it sounds silly, but the feeding part is, we had a nice neighbor that loved to put out there and feed the coyotes, and we were wondering why there were so many around. So keep your pets safe. Pets are more likely to be killed by animals than wild animals. I don't know. But however, coyotes view cats and dogs as potential food. Keep your animals restrained at all times. Feed pets indoors. Close off crawl spaces under porches and sheds, and cut back brushy edges in your yard. So those are some of the tips.
And there is a leash law.
But not for coyotes. Next item, please.
Citizens' participation.
Does anybody like to come and address the board tonight? Okay, seeing no one, next item, please.
We have on bills tonight the usual monthly bill for the law offices of Richard Bowen.
Okay, maybe we could have a motion.
Make a motion to pay the bill for the month of October, $15,000 total.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside.
However, I'm going to point out that the bill actually goes from October 21st through just, September 20th. It's not
Okay.
for the...
Okay.
It's not the calendar month, we understand.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400.
Next up will be the appointment to the Affordable Housing Trust. Mrs. Scasiotti?
Good evening.
Hi.
Just by way of a little bit of background here, I am the Selectman member of the Affordable Housing Trust. The Affordable Housing Trust had noticed a meeting for this morning at which it was hoped that we would be able to interview Mrs. Scasiotti. Unfortunately, we did not arrive at a quorum, so that interview did not take place. However, I was requested by the chairman of the Affordable Housing Trust, Mr. Stephen Suey, to go ahead with the interview and potential appointment tonight at his request on his recommendation. I think a fair portion of that was based upon his comfort level with Mrs. Scarziotti's knowledge of affordable housing issues, and the other one was far more practical. It dealt with the fact that we didn't have a quorum there today, and it would have been helpful had she been a member of the board, because then we would have had one. So with that in mind, questions from the board, please.
I know Mary for a long time, and she's got my okay. She's a great lady. She does great work, and I'm okay with it.
We messed around with a few 40Bs in our day.
Okay, Selectman Slavin?
I have no questions.
Selectman Whiteside?
Hi, haven't met you. No, hi. Nice to meet you. It's wonderful to have somebody with your background willing to serve the town. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that in mind, may we have a motion, please?
Okay, go ahead, move.
I'm moving as soon as getting there. Make a motion to appoint Mrs. Scarzioti to the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin and seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400. It's unanimous. Thank you for offering your time and your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Just as a matter of record then, sir, how many we now
4
have-
out of 5. We need one more.
Okay, and is that the one where the state makes one?
That, no, the state has no,
Okay.
there's no
that's the other
appointments
one.
on this body. You're thinking of the Housing Authority.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item would be sewer business. We have none on the funding source. And also, anybody else have anything on sewer?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. Next item up would be discussion on guidance to the town administrator for the next year. Review statement, selectmen's input and comments. If you would like, I'll read what was submitted by Mrs. Whiteside. We've talked several times about these type of items before, so most of the comments mirror what I have as well, so there's no sense duplicating them. Just to read out to the public: provide appropriate municipal support to all residents. Continue to equitably plan expenditures between the school and municipal services side of the budget. Work closely with school to utilize/create positions that serve both sides of the government. Purchasing, human resources, payroll, etc. Consolidate overlapping positions. Continue to take advantage of or create regionalization cost reductions as concerns public safety, dispatch, municipal maintenance. Maximize money-saving opportunities. Continue to monitor the town spending and provide timely reports to the Board of Selectmen. Create and maintain a 5-year moving forecast. Cross-train clerical staff to best utilize personnel in high-demand periods. Prioritize municipal services. And the last but not least is make hard decisions based on financial constraints and best practices. I'll only add to that list the employee handbook.
I have something I want to add anyway.
Yes.
We talked about this before, and we're sort of getting down to the nitty-gritty here, going to be getting into the next budget cycle. And I think we need to have not a 5-year plan, but a 10-year projection. And not only a 10-year projection, but a 10-year projection of the escalation of costs over the course of time and what it would cost, where we're going to be and what it's going to cost the townspeople to be able to afford the level of services we have. We talked about this before, Derek, and I think you're the only one who can really do that forecast for us. I mean, I guess we could come in and do some of that work for you if you want, but I think that this is going to have to be. If we're going to look to the future of this town at all, we've got to get a handle on this relatively quickly.
That's absolutely something we can put together, looking at some of the milestones as well, and what we've done what's happened over the last decade. We're probably trending into environment that's, believe it or not, more stable than we've seen over the last decade. So,
And we need to include the school department in that as well, of course, because, you know, they're such a big chunk of the budget. If we don't include them, we're really going no place. So we need to, and they have to sort of, at some point, we have to get them to buy into the program, just like we have to, like everybody, in order to make this whole thing work. Because otherwise, it's gonna be a very sad situation around here.
I think that's basically what 1 and 2 say on this list, Mr. Tropiano. You know, it may say different departments, but it all is on one tax bill.
This is, I know you said it before, but when would you like to see perhaps some feedback from Mr. Sullivan on this?
Well, I mean, we have that meeting coming up on Saturday, which hopefully will have some input from the other boards, which is gonna help a little bit, and I think we should discuss that with them, because he's gonna need their help maybe on that side as well in order to put this package together. And then I think we really need to get it together as quick as possible, and I'm thinking that believe it or not, that this thing should be ready or put together by January.
Are you talking about the forecast?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I mean, we have to have that in our hand by January, even to discuss it or start to talk about it.
yeah, January would be feasible. I'd probably try and put it towards the mid, since I can't give it off to a designee. So, but yeah,
Besides, your designee has disappeared here. I don't know, he's slapping on the job over here.
yeah,
Burned.
we've got some items. November and December are probably some of our busiest months, but once that winds down, working in January we'd be able to put that together with the input we have ahead of time. So,
Okay, thank you.
I've made a note here for January 14th or 21st.
That's fine.
Selectman Whiteside?
Senior moment. Oh, I know. I guess it talks about regionalization and, you know, getting rid of overlap and blah, blah, blah. It's interesting that we have somebody from Plymouth County here today. But it seems to me that my best estimate is that regionalization and consolidation is going to be the thing that saves cities and towns. Whether it's in schools, whether it's in public safety, whether it's in sharing energy costs, you know, whatever it is. For real? You need to stop. I'm sorry, but I can't stand it. Thank you. No, he's playing. So I would hope that the consolidated, that 10-year plan maybe addresses some of those things, and I know that gets dicey, because once we have a kingdom, we like to protect our kingdom.
I've got one other thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The other thing is, as you know, I'm the liaison to the water departments, i.e. the districts, okay? Wareham Water District and so on. And I was talking to the Wareham Water Department today, and of course, one of the things we're trying to do is get away from EDUs. At least that's where I'm headed. I'm trying to get away. Because I don't know how you even defend what an EDU is, you know, to be honest with you. And as I understand it today, they're ready to go. They can do our bills tomorrow. If we gave it to them now, they could do it based on water tomorrow. That's how fast the module can be installed and can be operational.
Wareham
Yes.
District.
Right, exactly. But ONSIT's, I understand, is up to date now on their software as well, so I think that they are capable of doing it as well.
Well, we have the report that's due to us, I would hope, within a couple of weeks.
I should hope so.
From the consultant that was hired by the sewer director to look at the billing issue.
Yeah, well,
And we can take that all into account
It's
and
definitely
begin.
something we've been trying to do. We tried to do it way back when I was a selectman a couple of years ago. And it just never materialized, but, you know, it's really the fairest system, because in actuality, we have some buildings in town where we are counting the garage doors as how many EDUs we charge them based on garage door numbers. And this just isn't really a good thing, you know? So and that's another thing we need to be sort of paying attention to, but I guess that's coming soon.
It is.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Could I just ask, I'm sorry, okay, sorry. You may. Number 10, which is bold-faced, sort of, make hard decisions based on financial constraints and best practices. That really is number 1, because it's not that we have no money, it's that we have a limited amount of financial resources. And if fixed costs, you know, contracts and things like that continue to rise, at some point you have to either come up with an override, or you have to start really cutting out departments, not just skinning them down, but getting rid of them. That's my guess. So I'd like to know what your thoughts on that are as we go forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Just a quick comment, and we'll finish up. We hope that we'll be able to generate a few interns out of Bridgewater State where we're at the graduate level, which will help Mr. Sullivan, because the amount of work he's seeing in front of him to get the budget done is quite cumbersome, and with the amount of help available, it's going to be difficult as well. Mr. Foster is just coming back to work now, and it's going to take a while.
Have to get a few more designees.
Yeah, you got to find ones without the straw, though.
Without the straw.
Yeah. Next.
Straw-free.
Next, we have presentation by Plymouth County Commissioners. Looks like you're by yourself.
Yes, I'm by myself. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
You got to
Thanks to
speak
you.
into that mic, and you got to hold it almost up to your mouth. I'm sorry, but that's sort of the
Well,
process.
most times I have a very loud voice. People usually
We'll get
ask me
yelled
if
at
I'm
from
yelling
behind
at them.
over
So, anyways, I would like to give you just a little background of myself. I am from Bridgewater. I was on the Board of Health for 9 years. I was on the Partners Housing Partnership for 6 years, and I am currently a counselor in Bridgewater. So I can definitely appreciate where you sit and the hardships that we all face today. So with that, I just wanted to thank you all for having me here this evening. I have to apologize for Mr. Commissioner Pilata. He may show up, but he's on his way from the western part of the state, depending on the traffic, whether or not he'll make it. And Commissioner Handley had another obligation in Pembroke, so you have me. And also, I'm just looking at my glasses here. My grandson knocked my lens out, so I'm not really able to see very much. So if I'm reading kind of funny, excuse me. So anyways, I just want to thank you for having me here this evening. It's, long overdue, since I'm sure the commissioners have come in to visit the town of Wareham, if ever. I'm not sure. I came on board in 2010. I know I haven't been here, so I apologize for the delay in not getting down here to you people. It's always, great to be able to get into the different communities and give them an update on what county government does for their communities. Also would like to thank Alan Slavin for being on the advisory board and, making the great attempts to get to the advisory board. We appreciate your input in representing the town of Wareham. First, I'll explain a little bit what got us going into the communities, and that was going back to when I ran in 2010. Going out getting signatures, of course, I was telling the people and asking them for their signatures, and they had no idea that county government existed, nor did they even know what it did. So I found myself educating people more than probably getting signatures. But I did get enough to get on, so that was good. So once I get into office, I realized the first thing that we really needed to do was to get out and to educate the people and update what we do and unfortunately, I really have to say in the past, we haven't done enough. There's been a whole lot that's been lost in the shuffle. We haven't been doing our job. And since I came on, I've worked very hard to make sure that we are coming up to where we should be in helping the communities, because during these hard times, the communities are beginning to realize that, you know, we really need to come together and, like you said, in regionalizing, which is one of the biggest efforts that we've gone into. So I just wanted to go in a little bit of, I'll start out by saying what Plymouth County does for you. A little bit is, you know, as we all know, in general, every Plymouth County taxpayer pays between 10 and 35% of their annual income to federal government. That's tens of thousands of dollars per taxpayer per year. 5.3% of their annual income to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Again, thousands of dollars per person per year. Pays real estate tax, excise tax to their cities and towns, but very few people know how much they pay in direct taxes for county government. The answer was quite amazing to me when I really looked into this, and of course, Treasurer Tom O'Brien broke it all down for me. It provides valuable evidence that the county government is an extremely efficient level of government in the Commonwealth. Here in Plymouth County, there are 497,579 residents. That's the estimate for 2011. The direct assessment to the communities of Plymouth County for the operation of the county for fiscal year 2013 is $1,358,920.36. The Plymouth County cost per person, per taxpayer, per year in direct taxation is only $2.73, depending on where you live and how big the population is. Excuse me. And what amazed me is that wouldn't buy even a gallon of unleaded gasoline today or a gallon of milk. So what you get for, what the taxpayers get for the $2.73 per year, we get the finest registry of deeds. It's the state of the art. We have 3 locations. The main one is in Plymouth. We have 2 satellite offices in Brockton and Rockland. And right now the registrar, Mr. Buckley, has started a program, a training program that focuses on the informational needs of the Plymouth County's 27 communities, specifically the employees at the staff level, the assessors staff, the planning department, the treasurer's office, and other local offices. That is offered on the first Thursday of each month. It's really, I went in and saw what he was giving in that information. It really, you know, helps the towns right there, because your people who need to get in and look up deeds and stuff don't have to any longer leave the office and go to the registry. You can do it online from your own office, which saves time, saves a lot of losing a person in the office. So we're very happy to support Mr. Buckley on that. We also have the ownership and maintenance of 3 courthouses, one in Brockton, Wareham, Hingham. And one of the many projects that Commissioner Pilata has done is taken on the capital plan for renovation of all the courthouses that haven't been touched in 10 to 15 years, and is in great needs of roofs, heating, bathrooms, windows, floors, handicap, etc. It's just, they just are deplorable, as I'm sure you've read in the papers of all the complaints that we've had. So we're working very hard on that. We have the administration and financial management of the Mayflower Municipal Health Group, the operation of a parking ticket process program for more than 30 government entities, the management and oversight of bulk purchase bid for municipal vehicles, gas, diesel, fuel, and for police and fire equipment. We have the operation of a 4-H extension agricultural program, which is growing all the time. The operation, maintenance, and management of a fire control airplane. Some of the towns that have been able to use these planes have said that they've been able to probably save millions of dollars from any losses that they might have had. So they take advantage of that. We also have the funding and support for the firefighters training program in Plymouth County, funding and grant support for local tourism in Plymouth County, the administration of federal grants available through county government. That's what Plymouth County does so far. We have also had many different projects that each one of us have begun to take on. I'll tell a little bit about what each of us are doing, although I can't elaborate on probably some of them. Commissioner Greg Hanley is now involved with the power management. I don't know if you got any material in your packets or not on it. Okay. So the power management, we have gone in and they are a company since 1997. They deliver a holistic approach to energy that streamlines your energy needs. They specialize in helping municipal agencies find ways to work more efficiently and save valuable budgetary space. They master energy. They have energy strategy development, energy purchasing tactics, risk avoidance tactics, energy management systems, demand response programs, tariff and utility tracker, lighting retrofit energy programs, utility contract analysis, and it's a turnkey solar installments. They will design and comprehend an energy program for electricity and natural gas procurement and management. They'll work with every viable energy supplier in the marketplace. They quote processes conducted at no cost to the customer and does not commit any customer in any way. Will provide blended portfolio options that will meet the needs and levels of the risk adversity of any customer. Will turn around the analysis in 10 to 14 days. Will meet any reporting needs, and this is at no cost to the communities. So that's one of the things that he's been endeavoring on. And the other one is a waste management. We're now going into a relationship with Tri-County, and the goal is that we can get as many communities as possible to come together and, of course, go in and bid for a cheaper rate. We all know waste management is outrageous, costs us a great deal of money. So I think that you probably got a packet on that, because I know that they were sent out to all the towns, or I'm hoping you did. I'm not sure, but it's worth looking into. We are bringing on, different communities. Even if you have a contract, for 10 years, you can still get into it on the first level. I think it's level 1. Even though your contract's not up for 10 years, that will still give you the part of being able to come to the table on the first level. If you come in later, then, you won't be able to be on that bargaining first level part. Again, if you have any questions on that, you can get a hold of Greg Hanley. Commissioner Pilata, again, I had said, he's working on a capital plan for all of our buildings that we own in Plymouth County. They all need a lot of work, and, he's taken on a tremendous job in just, doing a capital plan for all of our buildings, our courthouses, the Registry of Deeds, just so many buildings that haven't been looked at or taken care of in so many years. Myself, excuse me, when I ran in 2010, what I had said I wanted to do was dredging, and I wanted to do a forensic lab. Right now, we're in the beginning stages and talking with all of the harbor masters and finding out what we need to do to dredge for these towns. I originally wanted to do it for the towns inland, but we were given $250,000 from the state to do the ocean side. So we're going to begin there. We're in conversation with the harbor masters, and we have 7 towns that have come into that. I think there is 10 or 11 towns that are involved in this area. And we're, just right now the talking stages are, we're putting together just, survey results, whether we need a mechanic or a hydraulic, whether we want to purchase the dredge or, purchase the dredge, the dump scow, and the tender boats, whether we want to contract with Barnstable County in the dredge operation, although I think that they have a big enough area that nobody can get on even a waiting list with them. So it's kind of why we wanted to do our own in our own community. My passion was that looking at the towns and their lakes and rivers that they had, or lakes and ponds, that they're really diminished and that we're losing them. And if you don't keep up with them, then we're going to lose our natural resources. And, it just is a matter of, how many towns or who wants to get in on it, who, hasn't had it done, needs to get it done. And really, that's what we're here for, is that, you know, we're really reaching out to the different communities. Every community has, you know, different needs. What we need to find out and what we're wanting to find out is you know, just what you need or what your needs are. And, you know, if we can get a couple of towns that can get together and, you know, may have the same need, then we can maybe put something together where we're able to help you. The ocean side is completely different from inland, you know, which is more agricultural. So, you know, we are open to any ideas that you might have that you know, might want us to, you know, do. We've now gone into the Housing Authority. We've helped them with their OPEB liability. I think we started out with a couple. I think we're up to 22 or 23 towns now that we're helping them with their OPEB. So, you know, we're here. We're, you know, anxiously, you know, wanting to work with the towns and just, you know, see what you need and how you would like us to help you. We also have, I'm not sure if you got, probably not. I don't know why I keep asking, because obviously nobody sent anything over. The different senators and representatives who have backed us, we have put in since January 7 pieces of legislation. And let me see what I just did with that, which we're going to need your support in, and helping us to contact your representatives and helping us to get that passed. I'm sorry, hold on. Oh, here it is. So the different bills that we've put in is for the courthouse rent, bill number 1286. And this legislation ensures that the trial court will not make any rental payments to the county that are any less than the prevailing rent a commercial establishment would pay for the space in the geographic area. In other words, we're not getting the same rent that private entities have, and we're, you know, wanting to get that. We haven't been able to do a contract with the state. It's been 20 years since we had that contract, and they say it's a lifetime contract, although we differ with them. So we're trying to get, you know, what everybody else gets per square foot. This legislation would also require the judicial branch to give the county a separate line item for rent payments in their annual budget, which is like to get paid on time. We're months, you know, behind. So that's one of the bills that we have in. The deeds excise bill is 2516. The intent of House Bill 2516 is to recalculate the shared deeds excise revenue that the counties are allowed to retain. Currently, nearly 90 cents of every dollar collected at the county-run registry of deeds are diverted to the Commonwealth use. So we are asking for your support in this effort for the county to continue to offer and expand upon services offered to our cities and towns. Regionalization will play a vital role in ensuring sustainability of local municipalities. We do have a letter here, a sample letter that we have put out. I can leave one with you. This is, you know, in response to bill number 2516. I think that's the most recent bill that is going to be on the floor soon, so we would like your support in that. Recording reallocation bill 2780. The Registry of Deeds fees are set by statutory schedule. Until 2003, the various counties retained all of the revenue generated by filing at their Registry of Deeds. These fees were used by counties for operating expenditures. In the instance of Plymouth County, this practice had existed since 1685. But since 2003, the Commonwealth adopted a new schedule of fees for the first time since 1981, unlike the schedule of fees adopted in 1981, which allowed the counties to retain all of the revenue generated by the fees. The 2003 Act increased recording fees that allocated all the increases to the state general fund. In spite of inflation, the counties have not received a benefit of any adjustment in recording fees in over 3 decades. So as a result, a large portion of the recording fees is being diverted from the cost of services that the Registry of Deeds provides, and is instead used to the state for purposes which have no connection to the registry that generated the fees. The legislation seeks to correct that inequity. So that's another bill that we have in. The MOE House Bill 3363, this simply means that the state took over the Sheriff's Department, left behind the retirees to pay. Thank you. I kind of say that they took the house and left the mortgage, so we are, you know, asking for support on that. Stabilization fund, 1829. Everybody's allowed to have a stabilization fund, but we're not. So that is just simple, and we're asking for support in that also. Pension obligation bond, House Bill 3377. The legislation provides for the issuance of a pension obligation bond to fund the Plymouth County retirement system. Unfunded liability on behalf of its participants by using taxable bonds. The county can fund all or a portion of the unfunded liability by generating a deposit to the retirement system for investments. That there, I would have to refer you to Mr. Treasurer Tom O'Brien. He knows all the finances and about the pension bond. In our recording House bill, again, that goes back to the same one that was House Bill 2780, which would be reallocating the monies. So that's what we have up at the House, and we, would like your support, and especially Bill 2516. I believe that's all I have for this evening. Any questions?
Okay. Dredging has been a problem for everybody.
Right.
And
Right.
the regulations the state puts on it, and it's been a real problem.
Right.
A lot of the rivers don't wash properly because they haven't been dredged in so long. The last dredging project we did was under the Stone Bridge. Remember, we did the inlet into the Stone Bridge there. And it took us 10 years to get a permit, and then we get stopped by the Indians, who said that there might be artifacts. So we had to do an artifact study, and it took like 2 or 3 more years before we finally got to be able to actually dredge that.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been dredged many times before, so if there was any artifacts, they were long since gone.
Right.
So these are the kinds of things that, the county might have a little more pull with the state than we do in order to get these kinds of things accomplished, because we really are not taking care of the environment this way.
Right.
I mean, everybody yells about taking care of the environment, but these rivers, if they don't wash properly, if they don't get the things, the eelgrass dies, there's all kinds of problems, the nitrogen builds up. I mean, there's all kinds of
Bacteria,
issues.
algae,
Yeah, bacteria,
everything.
algae,
Yeah.
plumes, the whole 9 yards, if they don't get to wash. And, anything that you guys can do to help, that along, get those processes working is a plus. I mean, to be honest with you.
Right now, I think, like I said, we're starting on the ocean side, but we should be up and running with that. And by, I'm told, September. We meet every other week. There's just a lot of information that's out there, whether, what kind of machinery you need, whether you have silt in there, whether you have mud in there, where can you take it? Is it hazardous? Where do you put it when, once we take it out of there? So there's a lot of work. These are things that we're going out to the town. We're trying to find out how many towns are actually wanting to be a part of this. And, if we have a few towns that want to get in on it, then we definitely, would pursue it and on your behalf. And, the other thing is, like how often would you need it dredged, and to get everybody on a schedule where, everybody, like I said, everybody has different needs. Some towns needs it done, maybe once a year. Some might need it twice a year. Some might need it every 10 years. So, that's a schedule that we need to work out and work with the towns.
Well, the process has been that if you want it, you can't get it done every year. It takes
Right.
10 years because you can't get a permit without going through the process for 10 years. And that's where you guys could help, is interceding and coming up with a method that, these rivers that were dredged for years and kept them very healthy as a result of it. They're being not taken care of. And it's problematic for the whole bay, for every bay place.
Right.
And I don't know, people think that, I guess, when you dredge, that, it has a bad connotation, that, you're going to tear the place apart and do whatever.
No,
But
no.
it isn't. It's actually very healthy to get the water level down, back up, and so on and so forth. And I don't know.
I think you really have to, get the water to where, it needs to be at its level. And, sometimes I question too, and I've thrown this out there, like, if our lakes and rivers are not being taken care of. I mean, and they're beginning to close in, and we're not having any natural resources. I mean, that water has to go somewhere, so it's going to flood somewhere. It's going to flood, different areas that probably haven't been flooded. And I think that these are some of the things that we're beginning, I know in Bridgewater anyways, we're beginning to realize that, because they haven't been taken care of, the natural resources we've lost, they're growing overgrown, and that, the water just has nowhere to go. It's like when you were building on wetlands, I mean, it's the same idea, is the water doesn't have anywhere to go.
It seems that it depends on who you are, whether you get these things accomplished or not. I happen to remember not too long ago, they were killing all the seagulls on Monomoy Island, and they were killing them because they were eating plover eggs. And that happened just like that. They needed a thing, bingo, bango, they were out there killing seagulls left and right. Thank God somebody finally stopped them and said, hey, this is not the right thing to be doing. But certain things happen like instantaneously, and other things that are important take forever with state government. And being the county, you guys should be able to have a little more authority, a little more pull to get these things done.
Well, I think now, especially, we have a good relationship with the state. And, these are things that we may come up against. So far, I think that, they may be able to, or they will work with us. So, that's a positive.
Thanks. Selectman Whiteside?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, but I have a question that really has nothing to do with my questions. What is holistic energy management?
That's a good question. This is it's more of I think more of a natural way of energy. And again, this is Commissioner Hanley's effort that he's doing with the power. So I'm not all privy about what that is, but I'd be happy to get him to contact you.
Okay. Unlike some of my peers, well, let me back up. Recently in the Globe newspaper, it stated that county government in specifically southern parts of the state, south of Boston, were very, very weak, as opposed to county governments in other portions of the Commonwealth. And so I guess what I'm hearing is you guys are ramping up so that that criticism cannot apply to you any longer, maybe. What originally was the purpose of county government as opposed to state government as opposed to town government? I guess to rephrase my question more bluntly, if we're looking to consolidate, et cetera, why would we be interested in beefing up another layer of government? It flies in the face of common sense.
Well, I'm passionate about county government. I think there's a great need for all levels of government if you have the proper leadership, if you do your job. Statewide, well, I think that we can compare some of the things that we do and the state does, that it's cheaper by doing it with the county than versus the state. For instance, our municipal health group, we haven't gone up in 2 years in our rates. Our rates are cheaper than the GIC. Our bids that we put out for gas, fuel, and police and fire equipment, we get better pricing on those bids than the state would.
Are those going back to the cities and towns in Plymouth County, or are they only for yourself?
Those are the towns that in Plymouth County. Although some of the bids that we have, I think we have like 213, and they're not all in Plymouth County. Some of them are outside the county, like the vehicle bids for the police and fire. We had a couple of fire chiefs, excuse me. I won't mention who, but didn't think he was getting a bang for his buck, I guess you'd say, and he investigated it and looked into it and realized that we had the cheaper bids, and we're able to get it because we have just more people, and of course the more people, the better bartering you have with the different companies.
So that what you're suggesting is that the purchasing of police vehicles, fire vehicles, ambulances and stuff should be funneled through the county as a cost-saving measure?
Well, whatever we do for, and I believe that Wareham is on our bid process. I think you are in the police and fire. I think you're also in the municipal health group. I'm not positive on that. I don't have that marked here.
No, we're not.
You're not. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But I believe you were. I think you were on the fire and police bids. Are
Is
you?
that correct, Mr. Sullivan? Fire and, well,
I'm
you
sorry.
don't know about the
I
fire.
have my list of all the towns, and I guess I didn't bring it with me.
I don't know if we're necessarily, we can use several of the lists. I think, is there a cost for when we seek one of the bids from the bid list?
I think to be in it, it was $300
Yeah.
for 3 years.
yeah,
something
so
like
there's
that,
just,
yeah.
I would
But
have
over
to
a
check
long
on that.
term, and what you order and what you need to provide, the $300 is a very small amount.
Okay. And then, in terms of dredging, whether it be a river, a channel, a canal, a harbor, the first people, the first criminals to dam rivers and streams were beavers. And after beavers came men who thought that, changing rivers and dams was a really great idea. The state now, I believe, is in the process of looking at several dams for removal so that the waterways, in fact, clean themselves, which is the way that it started out and probably is the way it's going to end up. If you look at, for instance, the history of the Grand Canyon, there's a huge amount of damage that's been done ecologically because of the dams. I'm not convinced as a human being that trying to correct something at the end instead of preventing the problem at the beginning isn't a better way of doing it. In other words, I'm suggesting that the county could be much more helpful to us by providing water quality programs, by creating programs where selectmen and town planners and conservation commissions are taught about the impact of building in wetlands, or even building, where you can near to wetlands. Whether you believe in global warming or whatever you want to call it, the fact of the matter is that there will, at some point in time, be a change. It is clear that the federal government has recognized the change in the ocean level by changing their maps. So I think instead of, I'd like you to be, I hear what you're saying, and I'm congratulating you for picking some really great things, but I'd like them to be proactive, not reactive to problems. I don't know what holistic energy management is, but creating a power grid, a consensus among the 27 cities and towns in the county might be a really great idea. We already have waste management pretty well under control, I think. It's interesting that you say that you have some really old buildings in the courthouse and the registry. I thought the registry was only 10 years old or not.
The registry in Plymouth is fairly new, but again, as we're seeing even in Bridgewater, my own town, our buildings hadn't been taken care of, and now, we're basically ripping them all down or redoing them, and it's really begun to be a real hardship. After 10 years, things start falling apart. You really have to start addressing, those things before they get to a point where they cost a lot of money to repair.
Right, and what you're saying is that you, in the county, have been impacted by the state doing to you, the county, exactly what the federal government and the state has done to every city and town in the United States. They create unfunded mandates. They just do. And so you've been punished, or you've been, hurt by the state changing the way things are being paid for. But again, my question comes back to, we are by beefing up this layer of government, are we going to be creating more costs as opposed to saving? That was a really long way of asking
Well,
that question.
I think that if, you have, I mean, if there are specific things that you can put together that you really wanted us to look into, we will definitely look into it. And again, don't forget, years and years ago, we used to do the dams and we used to do the roads, and then the state took that over, and we no longer have those. So, would I love to get them back? Absolutely.
What do you mean you used to do the dams and the roads?
The county government used to do this, the dams and the roads, and over time, the state has taken over
What do
the.
you mean do them? Did you make them?
They would maintain them, and maintain the roads and redo the roads. Over years, the state, because of monies that it brought in, took those items away from county government. Little by little, they've been taking little by little. And, myself, I truly feel that we can't be dependent on the state. We need to be self-sufficient in helping our communities and what they need on our own, pretty much. It's nice to have the state, help us with some things, but, I think that we really need to create other things that we can manage on our own. To wait for the state to, even like the courthouse rent, due September 30th, and I'm not sure if we've gotten it yet. So, how can we pay our employees and our bills without, them paying the courthouse rent on time, But anyways.
Well, the federal government did it to its employees, so the state can
Right.
certainly take a shot from the
Right.
president.
So we're just here, going out, letting everybody know, what we do, what we, would like to do, how we would like to help you. If, every town, like I said, is different. So if we can get some ideas of what your needs are, we certainly would, be willing to look into it. Whether it be, we are bonded, there's a lot of things that we can do for you.
You had mentioned several packets. Could you make sure that we get them?
Yeah, I
don't know if we did or
apologize. I thought
No.
that they would have come out. I do have the letter, though, on that House bill I can leave for you. And I
If you could just
definitely,
send a packet to Mr. Sullivan,
Okay,
that would,
that's fine.
of the stuff, and then we'll get it
sure.
disseminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Slavin?
The dredging project, I think Mr. Sullivan should get in touch with our harbor master and ask about that, because we're years and years behind dredging, going out the Narrows, going out, basically the Wareham River is a real serious issue there. Agawam, all of them, but those are issues where the Army Corps of Engineers gets involved, and that's why it takes so long. The federal government gets into that. And I know it's extremely difficult to get the projects done. I don't think we've had any projects since maybe as far back as the 80s or even earlier for most of the dredging stuff. We had one and two. Yeah, but before that, I think it was in the 80s. So bottom line is that I think that's something we should look at. I know we already applied for a grant under that SWMI program, but that's going to be for the dam. And as far as the waste management, we're in a little different situation than a lot of the cities and towns because of
Mm-hmm.
what we have here in our contracts. And that's really it. I appreciate very much your time coming in and talk to us.
No, I appreciate you having us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
And
coming.
I will get that information on who to contact for you about the dredging. I'll
Yeah,
have them
absolutely.
send that to you.
That
'Cause
would be
I think
great.
the next meeting is going to be on the 21st of November, and that's usually in Duxbury. So hopefully your harbor master would be able to, come to that meeting.
Okay.
And yourself, if you'd like to come.
The only other question, I'm sorry, I just wanted to see, do you ever do anything besides the dredging? We have a lot of the ponds getting choked by the non-native weeds now, yeah, which is one of the major options. And I had a person that had come in, they were speaking about somebody had bought on the pond. They purchased it in April. Gorgeous, beautiful, clear. And by the end of August, most of the pond is choked with weeds. So
Right.
that's one of the things, and I imagine that has to be happening throughout the Plymouth County area. So. Yeah.
And, again, right now we're starting, my, initial was to do the towns, the lakes and ponds that they had, but we're, kind of going in a different direction right now as far as doing the coastal line, but we will be moving inland.
All right.
And but right now, you know, it's all in the talking stages. Even though we have that going for the coastal part, we're now beginning to meet with the different towns to say, you know, get a group together and just say, you know, what do you need? How many cubic feet would you be dredging, or would we be dredging? What are you taking out? Silt, you know, mud? Do you need a hydraulic, a mechanical one? You know, kind of dredge do we need? So these are all in the beginning stages of, you know, what we need to do for you.
All right. Wonderful.
So you might be a part of that. Okay.
Great. Thank you for your time.
All
I
right.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is the police chief's contract.
Okay, I think Mr. Sullivan might have some information he wishes to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd been in contact with Chief Stanley, and he is requesting that we do not exercise this option. The reason being, I'm sorry to say, he's chosen the next path in his life, and he has started the retirement process. As part of this, I know it's not quite on the agenda, I just want to let everybody know, we will immediately start searching the process to hire a new police chief, and acting Chief Walsh, I know it's just a different world, will be moved to the interim position. So Kevin Walsh will be the interim police chief. So thank you.
Will we need to take a vote anyways, just to make it official?
Yes, we will, in accordance with the chief's wishes, which is
I'll make a motion that we do not extend the option for the police chief's contract.
So,
motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 400. We thank the chief for his work for the town. Perhaps we can schedule an occasion for him to come on and receive the plaudits of the board in the future.
I think that'd be nice. I'll
Correct.
reach out to him about it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is the selectmen fees from Mrs. Whiteside from last week.
thank you.
We have more information in our packets.
You have something that looks like this. Yep. Okay. What I did was I took the 21 cities and towns that we had been given a spreadsheet from. I think the town of Rockland has started doing this. And I took it apart and I went like this with it so I could see it across the board. And I started looking at the fees that selectmen or mayors, but mostly the selectmen in those 21 cities and towns that had reported charged. What I did was I gave you the highest figure from those 21 cities and towns. I gave you the lowest, and then I gave you the average, okay? In the very first column is what we charge, and then I think actually Shirley or somebody put, again, the spreadsheet that I've ripped apart and stapled in a different fashion, but this is exactly where all of this information came from. I think when I originally brought this up, I said that I hoped that we would take the opportunity to review fees on an annual basis, and because some of them were not available, I only did the ones where you can see in my handwriting. So it would be the alcohol licenses and the automobile licenses, taxi cab, and hawkers and peddlers that I have current information on. And one of the things that I like a lot is that on the automobile, the class 1, 2, and 3 licenses, Rockland and Hanover actually do it a little bit differently than everyone else. They have a fee based on the number of cars on the lot. And that has been photocopied in the middle of your packet. My thought is that that's one way of increasing the fees. I haven't made any recommendations about the fees. I just wanted you to be aware of what they are. I think in many instances, the low came from one of two towns. And they are very, very small towns and have virtually no commercial industrial presence at all. But you can see, for instance, there's a wide spread in some of them. So it's an opportunity for us to look at the fees, increase the fees. I will continue to research it if you want on the other fees as well. We'll go from there. I would like to have, if we could, maybe. I think it's down here for. Oh, it's a discussion, no vote. Okay, a discussion of perhaps coming back in a week or so with some, or a couple of weeks. I thought we had put it on here for a vote, but it didn't end up that way. With some increases. And again, it's what we have on our website today, the high from those 21 towns, the low, and the numerical average. If not all 21 towns had the figure listed, I divided by the number of towns that actually did report.
Well, thank you for all your work on this. Selectman Slavin?
Basically, you want us to come back on the alcoholic licenses and on the automotive Class 1 through Class 3 licenses?
Yes, sir. As well as the taxi cab. If you look at from the bottom up, if you look at transient vendors, which I call hawkers and peddlers,
Okay, down the bottom.
the taxi cab fee, the Class 1, 2, and 3 licenses, and then the liquor license changes and transfers. In other words, it's every place where I have a check mark. Those are the ones where I was able to get information, current information.
Okay.
So yes, it's most of it is alcohol related.
All right, so we would ask the chairman to put it on the agenda for a couple weeks with the idea of a vote, discussion of a vote.
That's what you're asking for, correct?
Yes, I thought it was on here. I thought it was on here for a vote, which is why I did all of this work. Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, why don't we do that? And,
Do you want to wait
hopefully
until
we'll
Mr.
go-
Slavin comes back?
Yes, I don't want to vote any fees increase or decrease without the full board participating, so we'll put it on for the 26th.
Okay, and would you like me to continue to do the digging that would indicate where else we fall?
Yes.
Yes, in fact, you could actually send that out to us ahead of time.
Yes.
Certainly, we can't discuss it online. I want to make sure we don't do that.
No, but I
you
could forward it to...
Yeah, as an FYI, you can come up with that information, forward it to us, and then
Okay.
we'll have an opportunity to study it on our own in preparation for that meeting.
Okay. The other thing that's in this packet is for your information, because I wasn't really aware of all of the things that went on or of the deadlines. If we were to change these fees, the alcohol fees, it's actually not going to be effective until after January 4th, because those renewals have already gone out with the current fees on them. The seasonal ones, which I did not get to do, have not gone out and probably won't go out until, I think, April was what they said. But this information here is just to show you, you know, what we send out, what the state sends out. It's examples for your knowledge, only because I wasn't aware of everything that had to go through it. And I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Sullivan and his staff. They were very accommodating and helpful putting this together.
Thank you. We'll come back to it in a couple of weeks, and we eagerly await your further information.
And I would ask that you guys come up with some maybe suggestions as to the fees.
Oh, yes. Thank you again. Next item, please.
Next item is the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative Grant.
Yes, this is in here at the request of CETA Director Pina, he's looking to get a grant for a downtown technical assistance or market analysis of downtown Wareham Village. This would be done in conjunction with the businesses down there, the Wareham Village Association. You've got the handout here in the packet that explains it, along with the cover letter that he's, I guess, asking the board to authorize me to sign. So are there any questions on that, or? Yes, Selectman Whiteside?
Yes, thank you. I just have one question. It was great that CETA was able to come up with a very large check for the 2 senior,
Generators.
yeah, for the generators for the 2 senior housing locations. If we were to, we as a town were looking to create a real shelter, a Red Cross shelter, would that be something that could be funded through, would a generator be able to be funded through that?
I'm not sure. That's probably a question for Mr. Bowen, and it's probably a question he's going to want to look into, because what he's going to have to do is take a look at the federal law that governs the use, for example, of the block grant that we receive via the state, but essentially from the federal government, as to what municipal uses you can use that money for and what you can't. So perhaps...
Well, it seems that it might be available because it went to the 2 housing complexes.
Possibly, but understand that those are a different government. So perhaps that was the consideration here. I don't want to get into the idea of guessing what the
No, I understand, but
Community and Economic Development Act says, because that's a very fast way to get into trouble with the grant. So I would defer that question to Attorney Bowen, and perhaps he could advise us at a future meeting. Does
thank
that
you. Yes,
cover it?
yes, thank you.
Is there anything else on the board on this?
I went through the grant this afternoon looking at it. It basically will look at, downtown. It also strives that they have a private-public partnership with this. They're looking for that type of involvement. The discussion of what they're going to do here has to have a end result that they have to come back with as well, and they have to report back what they're actually doing on it. So this time around, the businesses definitely will be heavily involved in having input before as it all comes through, because it's part of the grant.
Yes, thank you for making that point clear. I know in the past there have been some concerns in the business community that the work of the grant didn't necessarily involve them at the level they would have liked, but I think the very structure of this grant precludes that issue from occurring again, and actually encourages very active business participation in it. So,
It actually requires financial participation by the private and public entities involved. I'll make a motion to go ahead and ask that we give our chairman the authority to go ahead and sign the grant.
Second.
motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? 400. We'll get that done right now.
Next item up was assignment of policies. Last week, I gave a list of what I would go ahead and work on. So it's just a matter of anybody else has come up with any policies that they want to work on. I think that's all that's left here.
I think what I'd prefer to do is just start at either the beginning or the end and knock them off one at a time. So ignoring, or bypassing the ones that you've already chosen in my spare time.
Of which you seem to have a lot.
Yeah.
Next item up is the municipal maintenance, I believe, with the cemetery issues. I believe that we got a letter stating that on the 21st November they were going to meet. Hopefully that does take place and something happens. If at that point something doesn't happen, I would ask that the chair put this back on the agenda for the board to have some action on.
Yes, I know Mrs. Whiteside has been very busy working with the cemetery commissioners and with the administration to at least try to get something together where the cemetery commissioners can meet and take care of the deeds and the headstone permits. So we're hopeful that this goes forward on the 21st. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Sullivan?
I don't know if the 21st will have a quorum. So
Okay, well,
we may want.
we'll see what happens. Again, it seemed reasonable to allow for an opportunity for them to meet to take care of these ministerial functions, and hopefully it goes forward.
Well, if there is an issue there, then I would ask that you temporarily schedule it for the 26th of November. Put it on the agenda. If we have to, we just, pass it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item up is executing the Hammond lease with the Boys and Girls Club.
Attorney Bowen, your time to shine. Your turn to shine. Good evening. Good evening. We have your document that's you've prepared before us here. Is there anything else we need to know about this?
No, it's similar in nature to the document that's been before the board in the past. It's my understanding that the document in its original form was included as part of the RFP that was sent out as prepared by the school department and as approved by the town administrator, so I'm sure the school is very familiar with the document. After the Boys and Girls Club was given the award, their council reviewed it and made a few small suggestions, some of which I incorporated. And the result of that process is the document that's in front of you today. In deference to Selectman Holmes, who I know is absent, the section that I call the Holmes Clause remains in there. In fact, it's all in capital letters so that everyone's very clear that if the building develops a severe problem, we have the right to terminate the agreement if it's beyond our financial capability to maintain the building.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Selectman Slavin?
I just have one question again. I don't think I ever got an answer on. The payment per month is going to cover the operating costs of that portion of the building. Mr. Sullivan, do you know?
My understanding is that was supposed to cover what the costs were. That's the way the school department had set it up when they had put a minimum bid.
So as heat and electricity goes up, it's in the contract to go back and make adjustments as needed.
Yeah, they would have to on it. So,
That's all I have.
Selectman Whiteside?
Yes, just for the record, does this just include specific buildings, rooms? Does it include the playground outside the school?
With your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
It covers what is described in the document as, quote-unquote, the premises. And then the premises are further detailed. There's a list of particular areas and square footages, and it's that area that is being let.
So may I continue to just
And if it's not on the
clarify?
list,
If
it's
it's
not
not
in it.
on the list, it is not being leased specifically to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater New Bedford.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else on the board? We have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we accept the lease as the Board of Selectmen for the Hammond School for that portion to be used by the Boys and Girls Club of New Bedford.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. I know you're watching, Kenny. You're all set. Okay, next item, please.
Be any other town business not expected last 40 hours? Mrs. Whiteside?
No, thank you.
Mr. Tropiano? I have none.
Nothing.
Town Administrator's report.
Thank you. So it'll be a brief report. Today, the auditors have entered the building. We'll be here for approximately 2 weeks, beginning next week, I believe, on Tuesday the 19th. I believe that's the date. We will also have we will have our field rep in the Department of Revenue in. So that will be a very interesting day to have the auditors and the state DOR in on the same time. So we're happy with the progress, and we look forward to hearing what they have to say. This is all in pertaining to us setting our tax rate, and also the balance sheets, getting our free cash certified. So this is a very important time of the year for us. So thank you.
That was brief. Okay. Next item, please.
Last up is reports from the board from the committees. Mrs. Whiteside.
Yes, I'm going to be meeting tomorrow with the ADA Commission, to which I am the liaison, or with which, whatever. Apparently, they're having problems getting a quorum, and getting some information from them will be helpful toward that end. And I would remind you one last time, on the 22nd, 7 o'clock, at the library. It is Murder in the Library, starring all sorts of really interesting people. I suggest that you buy your tickets early. They're expensive, but it's a contest right now between me and Kenny Fonts as to which one of us is funnier. You get to choose.
Mr. Tropiano.
I talked earlier about some discussions I had with the water department, and I think I've covered that, so I guess I'm all set.
The audit committee met with Powers and Sullivan, went over some of the basis of what they'll be doing. They gave a date possibly as early, but I wouldn't hold anybody to it, as December 7th. If everything went well, they were actually quite pleasantly surprised, and I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised. They just said that things have been going really well, and our town accountant and obviously our town administrator have been doing a really good job getting the numbers in and getting a lot of stuff that was problems in previous years getting corrected. So I'm looking forward to that.
Probably not a good idea to get a financial report on December 7th.
Well,
Pearl Harbor Day.
but that's the date they picked, so I can't do anything about that. But that's what I have as far as the audit committee goes, and that's it for me.
I have nothing.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank you very much. Reasonably short meeting. Have a good night.